Okay. Okay, I would like to call this meeting of the San Dieguito Water District at 5 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Yes. Board Member Lyons?
Present.
Board Member Ehlers?
Here.
Board Member Hinsey?
Here.
Vice President Kranz is absent. He's running a little late. President Blackwell?
Here.
Record will show that all members are present with the exception of Vice President Kranz. We will note his arrival when he does show up to the meeting. And then please note that San Dieguito Water District board members receive an independent stipend of $100 for convening water district meetings pursuant to San Dieguito Water District Resolution number 89-07.
Okay, would you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Okay, so we'll move into the agenda. Next on the agenda are special presentations and proclamations, and we don't have any this evening. We'll move to the next agenda item, which is oral communications. Do we have any oral communications?
There are no oral communications.
No, we do not. Next is a report from closed session, and we did not have a closed session tonight. And next, we'll move to changes to the agenda.
There are no changes to the posted
Perfect.
agenda.
All right,
And then
then,
moving to consent
Consent.
calendar, no items have been removed by members of the public.
okay, perfect. Since nothing's been removed, could I get a motion to approve
Move
the
approval
consent?
of the consent items.
A second?
I'll second.
Great. And let's call for a vote on that.
Motion carries unanimously with Vice President Kranz absent.
Okay, so moving forward to the action items. We have a couple tonight, and the first is going to be a public hearing, and this is for consideration of adopting resolution authorizing adjustments to the district's miscellaneous fees and deposit charges, and establishing transaction processing fees for credit card and debit card transactions. With that, is there a staff report on this? Okay, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, President Blackwell and members of the board. The item before you is a public hearing for consideration of adoption of resolution number 2024-02, implementing adjustments to the district's miscellaneous fees and deposits, and resolution 2024-03, establishing the pass-through of credit and debit card transaction processing fees. First, some general background and philosophies on the fees and deposit setting. Fees and deposits primarily affect customers in two ways. One is when customers request certain services from the district, they are directly charged for those services. Examples of this would be when a customer requests the installation of a water meter, requests a reduction in meter size, or requests a plan check for a potential or planned development. The second way a fee or deposit is applied to a customer is a result of their actions. Examples of this may include late payment charges, returned check charges, or water meter damage, etc. The establishment of an accurate and thorough fee and deposit schedule is an important part of setting equitable rates and ensures that costs are recovered from the appropriate customers who incur those services. Miscellaneous fees and deposits are based upon cost of service principles and provide customers with a consistent and known expectation of costs whenever possible. User fees have no benefit to the community as a whole, and therefore costs are recovered from the appropriate customers. The reason for the fee increases. The district miscellaneous fees and deposits were last updated in October of 2019. Since then, the hourly labor rates have increased each year as evidenced by city and district MOUs that resulted in increases of 2% each year in July of 2021, 2022, and 2023. Another 5% increase is scheduled for July 2024, when these charges being considered today will become effective. Benefits, which are also factored into the burden rate, have also increased since 2019. And we cannot overlook the worldwide pandemic and the supply chain issues that it created that has resulted in big disruptions in the pricing of goods and services. This slide represents a sampling of the price increases the district has experienced that make it necessary to update the miscellaneous fees and charges. When you look at the 2019 prices that we are still charging compared to what we're paying for these items, you can see that full cost recovery has not been happening, and that is why an update of the fees and charges is necessary. The process of updating the miscellaneous fees and deposits included reviewing hourly labor rates by the required classification and the number of labor hours it takes to perform each service broken down by task. The equipment data, including both the hourly equipment rate based on Department of Transportation guidelines, as well as the equipment type and duration required to perform each service. We also reviewed the cost and the amount of materials needed to perform each service. Staff then examined and analyzed the data to determine the true cost of the service for each fee and deposit. The table before you shows a sampling of the proposed fees compared to what neighboring agencies are currently charging. Most agencies have their own way of arriving at what they charge, so it's a little difficult to obtain an apples-to-apples comparison. For example, for plan checks, some agencies charge on a per-sheet fee, keeping in mind that most plan checks will involve at least 10 sheets. Others charge on a time and material basis, others require a deposit, and others, like the district, charge a flat fee. Moving on to the credit card passing through of credit card fees. Government Code 6159 permits agencies and special districts, such as the district, to impose fees for the use of card and electronic transfer payments, not to exceed the cost incurred by the agency. This is commonly listed as a convenience fee, and an example is the convenience fee charged by the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office when residents pay their property taxes via credit card. As district customer use of cards has increased, the district non-card users are essentially subsidizing the card users by absorbing the costs. With the passage of Resolution 2021-65, which was approved by the City Council on August 11, 2021, the city began passing through card transaction fees in October of 2021, and the district is now requesting to do the same. Because we've encouraged our customers to use the online payment process, the district will continue to offer the e-check payment option at no cost to them. This table shows you the variety of charges that neighboring agencies use to pass through their credit transaction fees. The district charge, like the city, will be 3.95% or a minimum of $2.50 per transaction. Going forward, and to mitigate the likelihood of large fee increases, staff is recommending that inflation escalators be used to adjust charges each year. For administrative and engineering charges, this would be the CPI inflation escalator for the San Diego region and for the prior calendar year. And for operations and construction-related fees and charges, the escalator would be the Engineering News Record Los Angeles Construction Cost Index. Staff's recommendation is to conduct the public hearing and approve the two resolutions that are presented. That concludes my presentation, and staff is available to answer questions board members may have.
Good, thank you very much for the staff report. Given this is a public hearing, we're going to ask members of the board to disclose any other information you have that's not included in the staff report.
Nothing to disclose.
Nothing to disclose.
Nothing to disclose.
Nothing to disclose.
Right, I have nothing to disclose as well. And then, are there any preliminary questions before we open the hearing? Oh, sorry, thank you, Board Member Hinsey.
Thank you. My question is, much like the sewer rates, we decided we wanted to see them more often so that we're keeping up to date. What is our schedule for reviewing these rates?
The schedule typically has been about every 2 to 3 years, but because of the pandemic, we fell behind on that. And then since then, we've kind of been taking it slowly in terms of not hitting residents and the customers or the users with huge increases. So our plan is to use the escalators so that we don't have to have large increases in the future. It'll just be minimal each year.
And those escalators will be every year, and so every year they'll come back to the board
Exactly.
to approve. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Board Member Ehlers.
You asked exactly the question and answered my question. And so we'll see them and vote on, by resolution each year, we would update the fees?
Yes, we would come back and explain that this is whatever their escalator is for that previous year, we would be asking to increase the charges by that.
And on page 4, a separate question, I noticed we have a new account deposit and a turn-on deposit, and they seem a bit redundant. Is the intent to have essentially for every new account, have a $150 deposit? Why, is there a logic behind that?
We do charge a new account deposit for brand-new customers that are new to the district, and so that if they, for some reason, they leave or with an unpaid bill, then we can tap into the deposit. The turn-on fee is when we occasionally do get customers that we have to turn off their service because of non-payment of.
Because you might turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, you know.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, good. That answers my questions.
Got it, Vice President Kranz.
I'm sorry if I showed up a little late and may have missed this already. Is there a reason that other agencies charge time and material for some of these services, and we charge what appears to be a flat rate?
I will defer to the engineering staff to answer that.
It seems to me on some of these things, like the installations of the meters, you know, time and material would be a more prudent approach, but, you know, because you never know what you're going to run into underground there, and maybe it takes longer, or maybe we have studies that say, on average, we're getting the right number. I don't know.
Sure. Most agencies do either charge a flat fee or they charge per sheet. But there are some agencies, like you noted, they charge time and material. And the reason we're not going through that process, because of the accounting and the effort is going to take to actually record and maintain that type of information. That means every project that comes in, our engineering staff have to keep record of how much time they spent on each permit and the plan that they receive. And these, actually, they number in hundreds. So it's going to be a very cumbersome process for our engineering staff to actually keep track of every project that comes through for their review and approval.
I see. Well, that,
Just to give an example, last year we had 2,200 permits that we have reviewed. So if we're going to keep track of each and every one, how many hours each and every engineer spent, and then have the admin staff actually follow up on the payroll, it just will be much more tedious in order for us to provide. In addition to the fact that sometimes when you do time and material, there's always some questioning by the permittee of why you're spending 10 hours on my project rather than 3. And so this would be something that we will have to deal with.
okay, well, OMWD is a bigger water district than we are, and they're charging time and material, and so my expectation is that they have figured out how to track that. I think one of the questions that this raises with me is whether we have any way of knowing if these particular services are being done at a cost to the ratepayers greater than what we're charging. So if we're not tracking time, and you know, let's take for a minute just the operations services, which doesn't involve that much engineering, I wouldn't think, but I don't know. So when they go out and install a 3/4 inch meter in service, they were charging $64.65, and you know, the question is, are we making money on that? Are we breaking even? Is it in the red on that service and all the other services that are listed there, where time and material would be a more prudent approach because you don't know what you're going to, you know, you don't pothole before you charge that $64.65. So, you know, if you get under there and there's some utility issue or some other problem, or there's breakage, or, you know, maybe the water, you know, there are other things, right? So the benefit of time and material is that you cover the unknowns. And so it does cause me to wonder. I think that I'm prepared to support the proposed fees, but I think that the next time we do this, we should be prepared to address the time and material route a little more effectively.
Okay, any other preliminary questions? All right, since it's a public hearing, we'll open the public hearing. Are there any?
There are no public speakers.
All right, guess what? We get to close the public hearing. And then I think we can go into further council discussion with that, Board Member Lyons.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the mayor's question, will we track internally, or will we have a way of understanding whether the fees we would be charging under this fee kind of, everyone has the same fee based on the service? Is there, so let me make this clear. Can we track whether that's covering our costs and reflect on it after a year's time?
I think the numbers that we're presenting to you today, the best way I can categorize it is the average cost per permit that we receive. And I want to point out, as Sam just mentioned, on average, each year we receive about 2,400 permits for our review. But that doesn't mean there's 2,400 reviews. Many of those reviews take multiple reviews to get them complete to a point that we get them approved. So if I have to put a number, it's probably closer to 6,000 reviews that we do annually. That's why doing it on a time and material becomes very cumbersome. So these numbers, as you would see, they're sort of the average based on the time that we spend on each package that we receive for review. Some packages, it may take multiple reviews, up to 4 or 5. And some that are a little bit simpler and may take only 2 reviews. So that's the best I can describe it, as these are the average numbers that we spend.
Yeah, I understand that they're derived based on it being average, but in saying that, I think you're also saying that that's based on data that tells you how much it's cost up to this point, and we can continue to evaluate that to make sure we're covering our costs.
We do have work orders for specifically the installation of any meters or upgrades of the meters, that we already have that data, and there's a work order, and we come up with the cost for each and every one. And that's how we determined at least anything that has to do with operation, what is the fees that needs to be charged at this point in time as we go forward, because obviously we have been, or other customers have been subsidizing what the customers that requested the service. So based on the work orders that we have and the amount of monies that has been spent by our crews on a certain project, so that's how we figured out what needs to be done for the future. And that's why we were suggesting this escalation on a regular basis, so that we don't keep on going back and forth in order to get those fees increased because usually you try to do that on an annual basis, and then things do happen, and then you come back in 2 to 3 years in order to do that. And we wanted to make sure that we recover our cost.
Thank you.
Board Member Hensy.
Thank you. I was just going to compliment staff on breaking out the CPI for operations and then construction inflation for everything else, because we know those numbers are widely different these days. And then I would go ahead and move approval of staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
And we can go to vote. I did want to say a couple comments, just that, it has been 2.5 years. I know a lot has changed, and you went through that really well, so appreciate that. I really am glad we're going to move to looking at this every fiscal year. I appreciate Vice President Kranz's comment that we need to get a little more understanding of why not time and material versus the average cost flat rate we're using now. The credit, passing through the credit and debit card fees back to the customer is to me, is a bit of a no-brainer. I think that's become more commonplace, and it doesn't seem like we should have to support that. And also, there are fee-free ways to pay the bill, and I kind of had to keep reminding myself of that, but you can do it through e-check or by a good old-fashioned check, or even showing up, I suppose, with a bucket of coins if you wanted. But there are ways where you can avoid those fees. So I think that's good. With that, we'll just go to a vote.
And I'm happy to add it into my motion, that recommendation, to put a little bit more analysis into the actual cost for the next time it returns to the board.
Very good. You second that?
I'll second that,
All right.
yeah.
Very good.
And that's just to add the time and analysis of time and materials, correct? Okay.
I think it's to analyze
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's why I said analysis
the
of-
logistical issues or what it would take.
Yeah.
That motion does carry unanimously.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. We've got an update to the San Dieguito Water District organizational mission and vision statements and focus areas. With that, I will ask if staff wants to do a report on this topic.
Sure, we do have a report ready. Alrighty. Thank you, members of the board. Just for your reference, there is a draft document that has been updated that is an attachment to the agenda report, just for your reference. But I will go through the presentation here, which is the update to the district's mission and vision statements and focus areas. A little bit of background information. Strategic planning at the district began in May 2017. The board adopted a strategic plan for fiscal years 2018 and 2019. This document serves as a guide for staff, and it is a living document. It allows flexibility and modification in the face of changing conditions. In November 2019, board provided direction to update the district's strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 and 2020. Staff presents updates to the mission and vision statements and focus areas of the strategic plan. Proposed updates were developed through a collaborative process that involves all divisions of district staff, and proposed updates reorganize concepts and update verbiage for fiscal year, from the fiscal year 2019-2020 plan. This is a side-by-side comparison of the current language on the left and the proposed language on the right. And these are the details for the focus areas that we are proposing in this document, which can also be found on the draft document, which I referenced. Our recommended action is to receive the presentation and draft document, provide direction to staff regarding mission and vision statements and focus area updates. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have any public comments, I assume. Do we have any, Vice President Kranz, thank you.
Yes, I appreciate this update. I apologize. I know that we had our strategic planning session as a city council, and that meeting was noticed as a joint meeting. And we did not have the opportunity to get into this, but I think what you've done in terms of updating it is spot on, so I fully support what you're proposing here, and would move that we adopt this.
I'll second the motion.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. I too think it's a really well-done document. I did want to just ask the staff one question. Did anything feel fundamentally different as you went through this round? You went through that slide very fast, sorry for the comparison, but maybe I can just get a couple comments from you on that.
Sure. I think for the most part, the intent and the values behind the strategic plan remain exactly the same. When we went back to update this, I think we went through a process of just reorganizing our ideas so that they are very clear. We added some more focus areas just so that some of the old language, there were some comments in there that just kind of ran on. And so we were just trying to clean up the language and make it nice and easy to read.
Okay, very good.
One additional thing that we wanted to make sure that this shows that we are a customer-focused utility, rather than just list out what we do, that we do that because of our customers, and that's what has been emphasized in the mission and vision that we have proposed to you.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's the right focus to have, right? And your customers are worried mostly about if they're going to get water, and is it clean and high quality, right, and reliably. So with that, I think we have Board Member Lyons.
Thank you for putting this together and updating the vision and mission. I was wondering how this is going to play into a strategic plan. There's a few things here where it might be good to understand if there's a change also in our strategic plan in response to the vision and mission, and I'll call out a couple things that I see. Developing a long-term financing plan to improve district assets, that's under fiscally sound and efficient. So that's not something we talk about every day, but I imagine that'll come up, and that'll be something that we'll address as we move forward as being a strategic objective of ours as well.
Yes.
And it looks like you agree with that. Another one is diverse water supply portfolios. That's under water efficient and climate resilient. So as we think big and think in the future, that's always great to have as our goal and our vision. Things change in the world, and our needs change, and the resources around us change as far as what's available to us. And so I guess I was just looking for concurrence that these will translate also into our strategic planning.
Well, the intention was today, because of time constraints, is that we get the mission and vision approved, and then the focus areas, and then we're going to go back as a team and put in the initiatives and the goals that we're going to be accomplishing within the next few years. And that was the intention. But we didn't want to bring everything up front and all of a sudden get, changes to the mission and vision that we are proposing. So
Sounds good.
hopefully we will have those meetings among our staff again, so that we will come up with initiatives for years to come.
Great, thank you.
And thank you. Board Member Ehlers.
Yeah, Augustine, if you could go to the mission and vision statement, I just want to make sure. You made a comment that that there was a revision of something online, or did I catch that correctly? No, so the draft that was there hasn't changed, so.
No.
And you went by this one so fast, I just wanted to check to make sure what I'd read was what's here, and I'm good with this. Thank you.
If you go currently to our website, you still see the old mission and vision. That's currently, we need your approval before we actually put it online.
Okay, well, I was talking about the agenda item for tonight.
Okay.
Nothing's changed in the agenda item tonight. Okay, great.
So the action is to receive the presentation and draft document and provide direction. I think you've got some comments, which is great, and we have a motion and a second, I think, yes, and let's go to vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, moving on to informational items. We do have one on the agenda tonight, and and water resource specialist, Han, you're going to give that. So take it away.
Thank you, President Blackwell and members of the board. Before you is the water resource update. Here's just a quick overview of the presentation. We'll be going over outreach activities, supply, demands, and some policy considerations. In terms of district outreach, I have here listed all of the events that the district has been putting on, participating in, and doing in conjunction with our neighboring water districts. I will mention here that the additional rebates on rain barrels and flow monitors that was decided by this body will be live April 1st, and that information will be given out to all of our customers through the city newsletter and also our district newsletter as well as social media. In addition to that, the district participated in the San Diego County Water Authority's Value of Water Work Group. This was a 4-month process, and it was led by Water Authority staff and included work members of the agencies listed below. The intent of this work group was to develop communications materials that are designed to help member agencies of the Water Authority with anything ongoing. And I will move on to the next slide where we show some of that material. And so this is how San Diego Water District adapted those materials that the Water Authority provided. And so this campaign began on February 15th and runs through April 11th. The topics covered include cost of tap water comparison, factors influencing cost of operations and maintenance, which I think we've covered in a previous item today, and also specific items that are relevant to our service area, and that's climate and local water. And so these are all outreach assets that we are using through all of the methods that we have available to us. Moving on to the supply side, the Colorado River headwaters did not quite experience the same level of precipitation that we've been seeing here locally and in California. However, the graph on the left shows the snow water equivalent through March 1st. And it's trending right around the median level. And on the right, you can see the elevation levels of Lake Mead that are given, and is showing improvement from the situation that we were in 2 years ago during the midst of the drought. And just as a reminder for the board, the long-term Colorado negotiations are still ongoing, and so we're all waiting to see what happens with that with the Bureau of Reclamation. Moving on to the state side, the state water project allocations have been improving. The last update was given on February 21st. We expect that number to increase because we have been seeing a good amount of precipitation in the northern Sierras. You can see in the graph that we are about 97% of normal in terms of snow water content, and that Lake Oroville levels are improving. DWR also released a report detailing what the potential benefits of the proposed Delta Conveyance project would be if it had been built prior to this water year. And that number is approximately 648,000 acre feet of water that could have been moved and used, but instead flew out through the Delta, basically. That's enough water for 6 million people or 2.3 million households for a year, and it kind of highlights the importance of having storage infrastructure. I think that's something that we're all very aware of here locally as well. Moving to the local supply side, locally we've experienced record precipitation. You could see here on the left, January 23, all those dates listed under the monthly column were in the period of record given, record months. And then also daily records as well, August 20th of 2023, January 22nd. Those were the most rainfall that we've received in a single 24-hour period. The graph on the right shows how local precipitation has been correlated to the district's use of local supplies. Our supply figures are given below and are trending right around or slightly above the district's original 750 acre-foot projection. These are our long-term demands. For the first time in basically since the district was founded, in fiscal year 2023, we sold under 5,000 acre-feet of water. You can see in the graph here that shows 2022 through 2023, just how much the effects of long-term water use efficiency, intermittent conservation has had an impact on our demands. Just as to gauge our progress this year for fiscal year 2024, demands are currently trending 3.5% lower than they were in fiscal year 23. And so that could result in another year where we sell less than 5,000 acre-feet of water. And then it's not just because of long-term conservation and long-term water use efficiency and conservation. We also have variable demands based on temperature and precipitation. And so you can see here in the graphs just how much our demands can vary based on temperature and local precipitation. Moving on to the policy front, AB 1572 was signed into law last year. This bans non-functional turf on local government properties, CII properties, and HOA properties. And this is now in state statute. This policy will be taken to the State Water Resources Control Board to go through a formal rulemaking process, which staff will continue to track. A little update on the water use efficiency framework. We are in the formal rulemaking process in the middle of the second comment period. And the anticipated adoption will be in summer of 2024. The latest revisions include a little bit more flexibility for water districts in meeting their urban water use objective, which is a volumetric target, which will further reduce our demands. And then just a list of regulatory reporting that staff has undertaken since the last time the water resource update was given. And we are also currently working on our electronic annual report, the annual inventory report, and the consumer confidence report. That concludes the presentation.
Very good. Thank you so much. It's so interesting. We had a special meeting of City Council right before this where weather was our enemy, causing a lot of flooding issues, and we spent 2 hours on drainage. And now we come here where weather is kind of our friend, right? It's helped a lot with supply-demand issues in at least the last couple of years. Are there any comments or questions? Otherwise, very good. Thank you very much for the report. All right, we will move on to the any reports pursuant to AB 1234. And we'll start with you, Board Member
Nothing
Lyons.
to report.
Great.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing to report either. We'll turn to general information and staff status reports, starting with General Manager update or report.
Thank you, President Blackwell. I just want to mention some of the information that was shared with us yesterday during a CWA meeting for the general managers. They're looking into increasing the rates for next year because of the low demands that we are facing ourselves. They were anticipating to actually sell 365,000 acre feet. It seems like they're not going to be going beyond the 315,000 acre feet. In addition, the MWD might be raising the rates that would have an impact on CWA by 6%. Add to that the detachment of the two different agencies, Rainbow and Fallbrook. So all of this together might have us see double-digit increases for next year. So it's just something we were working with the CWA to figure out if there is any way we can maneuver around all these numbers and see what the impact to our customers would be. I don't remember what we anticipated last year as part of our rate study for CWA increases for next year. Do you remember those numbers?
We'd have to go back and look at the records to see how much we had anticipated, but it definitely was not double digits.
Yeah. So it's just something that we need to work with. And it's not only our district, it's all agencies around. The demands are very low. People are used to the conservation. And at the same time, with all these atmospheric rivers that we're getting around and the amount of rain, people are really not using that much water.
It'd be good
that concludes-
to, as you get updates, to keep us updated on what you're hearing on that front. And we'll prepare ourselves for that double digit, but let's hope we don't have to go there. Okay. With that, I'll bring the meeting to close and we'll adjourn. Thank you.